Welcome to the second part of our Bridging CUI and GUI case study. I'm Nico Spence, Chief Executive Officer of Basis International, and I'm going to continue where I left off last time by talking about how we took our add-on software, utilized Barista and the latest Basis technology to morph and merge those components of our application needs into one solution. Last time we looked at the internal systems that we use at Basis. We reviewed them. We looked at how we've created these customized application modules for our specific business needs over time, and how we use the then current Basis technology to deliver on them. We showed you how we moved from Pro5 to BBJ some 10 years back. We showed you how we deployed the CUI, some older GUI written firstly in GUI Builder and then morphed to App Builder, and then some of our new GUI modules written in Barista. And that concluded the end of part one. Today we're going to look at how we've replaced the packaged CUI modules, those were add-on version 6 character-based accounting modules, how we've replaced them with their new counterparts, the Barista GUI counterparts. That's the Barista add-on versions of our AP and GL. We showed you how we're going to integrate these pieces with Barista, and we'll show you the final product and discuss the next steps. So let's have a look at how we decided to take our transition to benefit from the new capabilities of the Barista version of add-on software. How did we introduce these packaged GUI modules? In our case, we chose the least customized modules, General Ledger and Accounts Payable, and decided to integrate those to our customized character-based version of add-on 6. First point we wanted to do was compare the data dictionary and resolve any differences with the standard version 6. So we may have made some subtle changes to the General Ledger and the Accounts Payable. We wanted to make sure that that data dictionary was aligned with the new versions. We then applied the utilities supplied by add-on software called Dataport, which converted the data from the old version 6, formatted the data to the newer versions. So when we moved the add-on software package to the GUI Barista version, we took advantage of the v-keyed file structures, and we also took the decision to normalize the data file structures, so it's necessary to run the data port. In your case, you may decide to put that off into a secondary step of your application conversion process. We then decided to take the approach of applying triggers to the transaction files and the General Ledger master table. We used the instead of write trigger. And what this allowed us to do was to maintain the older character-based code without any code changes whatsoever, but the old character-based code would now integrate into the new GUI versions. And the final point would be to do some customized changes to some output. Most specific amongst that in our Accounts Payable module was to accommodate our check printing format. So what were the interface points between the old modules and the new? Well, the old Accounts Receivable writes a General Ledger transaction file. So the trigger intercepts that write and redirects it to the new General Ledger. The old Accounts Receivable reads General Ledger master file information to determine the structure of the transaction. Trigger now duplicates the changes to the old table. So the old code is entirely oblivious to the fact that we've replaced the Accounts Payable and the General Ledger with these new modules. And by utilizing the functionality of the trigger within the Basis database management system, any of the writes that took place from the old AR to the new GL are intercepted and then redirected to the new GL. And we have two parameterized modes that we can run in, either in parallel, and also we can enable logging. So these are modes that we've implemented within the trigger code. And no code changes were required to the old modules. So that means this was a very low risk change for us, very easy for us to test, the ability to run it in parallel to ensure that the old GL and the new GL would balance, that they would give the exact same results that we would expect. Let's look at that trigger code within the Basis IDE. I've got a directory here that I've titled Add-on Hybrid, And I've got 3 triggers in here. Let's double click on all of those to open them up in our editor pane. So we have the first one, second one, and then the third one. Let's open those up. Oh, by the way, there's some new functionality we've added to the Basis IDE. If we click on the little plus node next to the GLT04 trigger, we'll see that we have 2 labels, set sequence and handle error. Double click on that, it'll take the editor to that line and position the cursor at the point where that label is situated. But let's have a look at the GLT04 trigger. This is the one that is going to write to the daily detail file, write the transaction to the new version for the Barista add-on version. So what this does is it intercepts a write that's destined for the old transaction file, and then depending upon the flag that's been set, if it's set to parallel, it'll write it both to the old and the new. If the parallel flag is not set, it'll just redirect that and write it to the new. So I suppose of significance here, this is where our login is set. Is the login turned on? So depending upon that distinction, it'll log transactions. And this is where our parallel mode setting is. So based upon an STBL variable of parallel add-on, it'll set up and write the transaction to the old as well as the new. So having a look at this code, what's of particular significance is this line of code here that gets the write buffer that's passed to the string template. Beyond that, all the code that you see in the string template, in this trigger file, is standard business basic code. So any business basic code that you could expect to have accessible to you is available within the trigger logic. So down toward the end, we assign the value of the data and then build the short key, create the sequence number, and write the data to the file. And if in parallel mode again, we'll write it to the old file. So very simple, very straightforward. The GLT05 trigger, if we look at that logic, really this is a data file that's no longer in use in the Barista add-on version. So the only time that this trigger gets executed, that actually executes any code, is if the parallel flag is set or if the login is set. So over here, parallel add-on, if that's set, it'll write the transaction to the old GLT05 file. Let's have a look at the GLM01 trigger. This is the trigger that will fire a write to the old allocation code file that the old version 6 would expect to have available. So the old AR, accounts receivable, will be looking at the old general ledger allocation codes to determine the structure of the transaction, and so this trigger is necessary to keep those two in sync. The other one I wanted to show you is the lead-in program that we use to run the add-on 6 character-based code from within the Barista framework. Now you'll notice that this one has a suffix of .aon, and the Basis IDE does not recognize that as a BBJ program. Let's quickly fix that. If I go to Tools and Options, I can go to the IDE configuration. Let's expand the System node, and let's look at object types, because after all that's the MIME type that we're looking for. We want to set and specify that .aon is also a BBJ file type. If we select BBJ files, you'll see over here extensions and MIME types. Let's click on the edit box and add AON to that list. We'll click OK, and we'll see back here in our file system view that the icon has changed for add-on ADX underscore version 6 lead-in. And if we double click on that to open it up in the editor, we see that we have all these labels available to us and specify the points in the program that are referenced. If we double click on the tab, we'll open that up in a single view, single window. So this is replicating some of the housekeeping work that the old character-based menu system used to perform. And so that's necessary in order to log and use the correct colors for the particular user that have been set, and the function key structures, etc. So this is available to our add-on partners. Once they log into their partner login on the add-on software web page, they can download this code and take advantage of this structure. At this point, we have character-based add-on 6 working seamlessly with the Barista add-on GUI version. So let's have a look at our integration steps of moving these two together to run more seamlessly in one environment. We wanted to mimic the add-on software version 6 menu program. After all, it does various setups. It does certain checking and setting of the terminal ID, of the username and password, and we didn't really want to have to run in a separate menu program for our character modules and then a different menu program for our GUI modules. So we created the add-on version 6 lead-in program, which really mimicked the same functionality that the version 6 menu program did, but allowed us to run this from within the Barista framework. And thereafter we called the lead-in program and passing to it the one parameter required, which is the program name that we wish to execute from that add-on 6 version 6 menu program, and called this from the Barista menu. So now we see a seamless introduction of the character-based modules from within the GUI framework. Over here on the left we see add-on accounts receivable 6.0, and down below we see the sub-modules, the various components of that menu that are now launched, and over time we can slowly migrate those to GUI versions. Our next step was to integrate the custom GUI modules. So all applications are now launched from Barista, add-on version 6 CUI, the custom add-on version 6 GUI Code, like the serial number tracking system, the add-on software Barista module, the custom add-on software version 6 GUI modules that we've written over the years, and our BCommerce GUI module can all be launched from within Barista. And they are launched by calling them from the Barista menu. So in our new hybrid structure, we've added some menu options here. We've added accounts receivable 6.0, that's our character-based version. And down below under the sub-menu, we have the option to click on customer maintenance. And this is going to launch our character-based version. But you'll notice that all the lead-in, login information, for example, is handled by our lead-in program. And we can do our name search again. Search by name, and let's select basis once more. And we'll select basis Europe distribution. And we could do name and address maintenance of that. So there it is, but it's now constrained by our MDI framework. And we can come back to our accounts payable menu. And so all of that functionality is available from that same menu. That serial number system I referred to early on, here it is. We can launch that as well, so we can add that to our Barista menu. So let's look at serial number maintenance as an example. And we also have our basis GUI functions, our GUI add-on, and our BCommerce. So those are both accessible from within the Barista menu. It's the same functionality we had beforehand, and we could have done a lead-in program here as well to obviate the need to do the login. And there we have access to, as I said, the same functionality that we'd experienced previously. But all of this is running in the same environment, and we can slowly start migrating, taking advantage perhaps of our dockout functionality, the ability to send output to a PDF or to a fax or to an email. Let's have a quick look at an example of that. So let's have a look at a report, vendor name and address listing. And we'll just select first to last of any permanent vendors. And that generates a dockout report. We'll see our progress bar on the bottom left. the report being generated. And up here we have the options of selecting the output type. So it could go to a system printer, to a PDF file, to an XML document, and to various other options, including faxing and emailing the report as an attachment. And so now we have an integrated solution, everything running off the Barista menu, so it's a complete hybrid solution. Over here on the left hand side we'll see the example of basis GUI functions, and there's our GUI add-on and our basis BCommerce, all launched from the same menu structure. So what did that open up for us? Why did we make this transition? Well, the opportunities are there for us to take advantage of the new technology. Deploying web applications, our GUI Barista modules are now available. iReport designed reports can be integrated into the solution. We can utilize functionality like data warehouse, trigger updates using triggers to update a data warehouse. We can look at stored procedures to deliver a simple web service. We can take advantage of the online backup capability of BBJ. And coming soon will be the browser user interface, the ability to deploy any of our BBJ GUI applications on a desktop browser or on a mobile device like an Apple iPhone. So again, what are some of the benefits of this approach? We now have the ability to deliver on an incremental upgrade path. We can implement a hybrid solution with AP and GL running in the newest Barista add-on, have custom modules upgraded incrementally as time and as needs dictate. And our next steps would be to take advantage perhaps of Barista's dockout for our email faxing and our archiving of reports. Take advantage of Barista's maintenance forms, and there we can leverage the role-based security that's inherent within Barista to ensure that perhaps certain fields aren't accessible to particular users, or certain forms may not be acceptable to particular users. And our next steps may be that we have some very customized GUI code that doesn't lend itself to Barista's data dictionary driven application framework. So we can look at some choices to plumb in some custom BBJ code. Barista may cater for 95 to 98% of your application needs, but you may need some custom BBJ code for a specialized purpose. It may be non-table or complex custom code that doesn't lend itself, as I said, to the Barista tool. And you can now plumb it into the Barista framework. You can leverage Barista's tool button menu structure, its look and feel. So we leverage the tool buttons and deliver a similar look and feel to Barista generated applications. We have tutorial code available, so just contact your sales representative and we can make that accessible for you to understand how you can easily plumb in your custom BBJ code to the Barista application framework. Here's a very simple example of a custom BBJ form and how that same form can be easily retrofitted and integrated to the Barista framework. So what are our benefits of this transitionary step? Very low risk, delivers a stepwise upgrade both for your own applications and your customers' applications. You get immediate gratification, immediately see the benefits of tools like Barista. You get a GUI solution on your platform of choice. There's very low cost of transition. Take it at your pace as your budget dictates. And in today's world, that's a very important consideration to make sure that we deliver on the features and functions that are most required by the business to be more effective in the challenging economic climate that we find ourselves in. We get the benefits of WYSIWYG report writing from tools like iReport and the ability to integrate those solutions into our packaged offering. It's a phased implementation, and that really generally means that it's an affordable solution. So in summary, what have we covered today? We've looked at a review of Basis's internal systems. We've got a feel of how we moved from Pro 5 to BBJ, how we've replaced standard CUI modules of our prepackaged solution with the GUI versions. We've taken the trigger approach to minimize the impact on custom code. And we've integrated all these pieces with the Barista framework. We've delivered the add-on software leading program to mimic the same functionality provided by the GUI menu structure, but replaced that by merging it into the Barista menu framework. And we've seen the final product, and we know what the next steps are. And if you're looking for additional ideas on how to enhance and take the next steps in your application, have a look at our website. The documentation has valuable information. Have a look at some of the new BBJ utilities like BB Jasper, which allows you to integrate your iReport designed reports into your application seamlessly within the BBJ framework. Or have a look at some of our Java breaks, ones that you might have missed. They've now been reorganized under the components of Basis technology. And have a look at some of the other archives that we have under video presentations. You should see some useful information there that'll help you give you ideas of how you can enhance your application. So at this stage, let's take your questions.